What's up, creepers? Welcome to Devil's Night.
Devil's Night!
Devil's Night.
Who are you supposed to be, Phin?
I'm the crow. The crow. What?
Well, what does he say?
Can't rain all the time.
It can't rain all the time.
We even have a tight shirt, black shirt.
We love the crow. We did not get to do the crow this month, but we will definitely get to it because it is one of our favorite movies of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. We love it. Even when Fun Boy's banging away on Darla. All right. So.
Why did you have to say it like that? With the hand, too? Did you have to do the hand, too?
Yes, because I love Skank. He's hilarious. All right. So we watched a movie last night. And this movie was very dear to my heart because I love Haunting of Hill House. And this movie was called...
The Haunting. I know what it was called, Mom.
And what year did it come out?
1999.
1999.
You don't have to keep pointing, Mom.
What year? What year? Your dad
graduated
that year. It was directed by Jan de Bont.
So you graduated in 1990?
Yes, I did.
Maths. Maths.
Yes, this movie stars Lily Taylor as Nell, Owen Wilson as Luke, Catherine Zeta-Jones as Theo, and Liam Neeson as Dr. Marrow. And this movie is very much closer to Shirley Jackson's actual book.
Yeah.
It's
Hill House.
The Hill House was definitely...
The Haunting of Hill House is...
It's so funny, The Haunting of Hill House by Mike Flanagan actually feels like fan fiction or like a love letter to this movie.
Because it has a lot of nods to it.
It has a lot of nods to this movie. This movie did not do very well. This movie cost a lot.
So good though.
This movie cost so much money, and it's experienced a little bit of a resurgence in the camp variety. People think it's very campy. I think it's really good, and it's a really touching story about a girl who's been out of the world for too long. And what are you gonna rate it?
4.5 skulls.
I'm doing 4 skulls. Sorry, 4 skulls for me. I do love this movie though. I think the sets are spectacular. Yeah. The sets are so beautiful. The set, it's actually a school. It's student housing in England, and I can't remember but it's for an American university, student housing in England, and it is such a beautiful property. And the soundstage that they built to build the interior of it has all of the prerequisite statues that Hill House has in the book and in the movie and in the show. And yes, and it does add a creep value when there's a statue, because sometimes in the dark, a silhouette, it could be a statue, it could be a ghost, it could be a person. So it does give you some good creep value for your money. It gives you a lot of bang for your buck there. That's why a lot of modern storytellers use mannequins, which you hate.
Nope, no mannequins.
So this movie starts with Nell dealing with her sister's family. They're getting ready to sell her apartment as part of their inheritance because Nell's and her sister's mother recently died.
No.
And Nell's mother was an overbearing, horrible woman. She was bedridden for the last 11 years, and Nell took care of her. The woman would pound on the wall with her cane and scream for Nell. Eleanor Vance is the name of the character. And if you did watch Haunting of Hill House, Nell, she does marry, I can't remember his first name, but Nell's husband's last name is Vance. So she ends up becoming Eleanor Vance on the TV show.
Yeah, boy. It was that doctor guy, right? Was he a doctor?
He was the intern, or the guy that was supposed to be helping her with her sleep study.
So yeah, like a doctor.
He wasn't a doctor. He was like a tech. There you go. He was a sleep tech. That's what they called him. Oh, it's really bothering me what his name was now. So her family
like Michael
is the absolute worst. Like, they are really mean. And okay, so tell them about what happens to Nell if they sell the apartment. Tell them.
What happens again?
Will she have anywhere to go?
Oh yeah, she has nowhere to go.
She has nowhere to go if they sell it. Yeah. She doesn't know where they expect her to live after this because she has spent the last 11 years, Arthur Vance,
Oh, of course,
She has
Arthur.
spent the last
So
11 years of her life taking care of her mother. She doesn't have any prospects. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't. If they get rid of her apartment, she's destitute. So she gets a phone call, and we don't hear it, who it's from, but she's answering, and she goes, "Oh yeah," and she looks in the paper, and there is a sleep study. Was it a sleep study, or people who just couldn't sleep, or something like that?
Sleep study. I think it said it was had 4 people who can sleep. Yeah.
They pay like $900 a week for this sleep study, and so she's like,
Were they even last week?
Huh?
Were they even there for?
No, I think they were there 2 nights. Anyways, she
I think it was 3 times about right.
doesn't matter
Yes, it does.
because she's not getting paid by anybody. So she takes this sleep study to be a test subject, a voluntary test subject, and so she drives out to the country to go to this house, and it is Hill House.
It's huge. It's a castle.
That's not as small as, I mean, it makes Hill House on the TV show look tiny.
And you know what? The inside seems smaller.
It's not, because all those freaking
Hallways.
how's the hallway down the
Yeah,
side?
but there's all those hallways, but there's not as many rooms. It doesn't seem.
She shows up, and
least they didn't say
the
that.
caretakers are the Dudleys, as usual, like on the TV show, the Dudleys, Mr. and Mrs. Dudley. Mr. Dudley is actually played by Bruce Dern in this movie, and that was a fun little scene, like, hey, Bruce Dern, what you doing there? He is very cranky, and he has to unlock this huge lock to let Nell into the driveway in her tiny little gremlin car. So she gets there, and...
Called a gremlin?
Yeah, it's
It's
called
like gremlins, bugs.
It's called a
beetles.
gremlin. So Nell goes looking
Sure.
for Mrs. Dudley, the housekeeper, and she sees a very spoopy portrait of Hugh Crane, and Finn's like, ugh, he looks like a werewolf. Oh my god, he's so
He has
freaky.
some intense sideburns.
Chops, those are actually called chops.
Well, maybe that thick sideburns are called chops.
Uh-huh.
Huh. It's a point where it just.
So Mrs. Dudley takes Nell to her bedroom, which is called the Red Room. Ah, fans of Mike Flanagan's. You got that one right. So she takes Nell to the Red Room, and we believe that it's Ukraine's old room. But you know what? I forgot to mention that before she left her mother's apartment, she did take her mother's necklace. And it's a very pretty and ornate, very Victorian-looking necklace. So
I just gotta say, this room is so nice compared to the
tiny
tiny
Red Room.
room with black molds and white walls.
So
dirty.
the Red Room is huge, and she gets into that room. And Mrs. Dudley is our threshold guardian. She is our harbinger, and she gives us the "we do not stay here after dark, never after dark" speech. We are going to be 9 miles away, and nobody will hear you scream alone in the dark. And
Did you memorize that or did you write it down?
no, I memorized it.
Kind of like now.
So she tells this whole big thing to Nell, and then Theo shows up in her fancy car. Theo's a rich girl from the city.
She has some intense.
Catherine
boots.
Zeta-Jones, so she's super smoking hot, and she's bisexual to boot. We see you, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Some
And
nice boots, too.
she does. She has Prada boots. Milan.
She said, like Nell mentioned it. She said, small price to pay for. She said they're hard to walk in or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, small price to pay for.
I don't remember what the rest was.
Something
I
like
corrected.
kicks.
Yeah.
She said
I don't
something
remember.
Kicks.
So
Yeah, like small
Theo
kicks.
shows up, and she's very glamorous compared to Nell. Nell is kind of mousy and quiet, and she's done everybody's bidding, and she takes care of people and stuff like that. And she's kind of taken aback by how beautiful and glamorous Theo is. And Theo's so worldly and outspoken, and she's a lot of person to take in for poor little Nell, right? And then she starts, prying into her life. She starts asking her about stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Mrs. Dudley comes in and she gives Theo the speech, which Nell likes to interrupt and saying, "In the dark, alone." And
She memorized it.
yes, so she says it very tongue-in-cheek, and Mrs. Dudley doesn't think it's funny. And she says that we'll put the supper out on the sideboard at 6 o'clock, and that they can serve themselves, because she is not sticking around after dark.
Not at all.
No.
Peace.
So Theo and Nell, they wander around the house checking it out. There's lots of carvings, there's lots of statues, and they find this huge door. And Theo thinks it's the creepiest door she's ever seen. And Nell sort of interprets the door for her as it being purgatory and how these children are trapped by these demons on the door. And it's like the door to hell, and these kids are trapped in purgatory. It's a very, very long sequence that I felt could have been shorter. They find they find a mirrored carousel room. There's this weird hallway. Remember, like the water in the books? Like, it was like, I don't know, probably fake books.
Yeah.
To walk across, like.
It was cool.
They ran into Owen Wilson,
Sure.
who plays Luke. Who is Owen Wilson, Phin? Who else has he played?
Ciao.
Ka-chow!
Lightning McQueen.
And
Took
then,
me too long to get that.
yes, it did. It took you a really long time. Because he definitely sounds like lightning.
He does, but it's hard to picture him as lightning as he's talking. Yeah.
So Liam Neeson, Dr. Marrow, he shows up with his 2 assistants, and they all have dinner, and there's a little Valley of the Dolls joke about Theo, because of course there is, and because none of them can sleep. Luke, Theo, and Nell. They are all the test subjects, and they cannot sleep. Yeah,
Wait,
they are.
There's 4 of them. What was the last one? You said Luke, Theo, and Nell.
Yeah, the other 2 are the assistants.
The one that got the eye?
Mm-hmm. That was his assistant that picked them out.
Oh. What itch my cheek.
That was Mary. So he tells them that he gives them a big, huge file of tests, tells them they need to fill out these tests while they're here during the week. And they are not allowed to leave the house and go to town. There's no telephones, there's no televisions. They are very secluded. And he decides to tell them Hugh Crane's story about how Hugh Crane really wanted children. He built this house for the most beautiful woman in town, and she died in childbirth, I think it was, or her children died. Her children kept dying in childbirth, and she eventually passed away also, and apparently he lived the rest of his life alone or whatever, wishing that he could fill this house with children. And there's lots of children carvings throughout the house. There's carvings in the mantles,
in
the beds, and all kinds of stuff. It's
above her.
Really creepy.
There was like 12 kids above her head while she was sleeping.
Carved out of wood. It's really creepy.
Like 5 over the fireplace.
So he says that sometimes the people in town says you could hear children coming from the house, like sounds of children playing. And the doctor's assistant
don't want to stay after dark, so.
And the doctor's assistant Mary, she gets really freaked out by that, and she's kind of starting to freak out about the story. And the harpsichord, you can see it's starting to tighten itself.
Untighten.
No, tighten because it snaps. It gets so tight.
Oh, I thought.
If it had untightened, it would have just been loose. They tighten, and then it snaps and it hits her eye, and it takes out a huge portion of her eye. So the other assistant takes Mary and they leave to go to the hospital. And that's the last thing we ever see the assistants. Good to know you guys.
She was supposed to be back in a day, but no, she never came back.
The doctor tells Luke that Hugh Crane's wife killed herself, and he doesn't want Luke to tell the girls, Theo and Nell. But of course he tells them. Immediately. He just goes, oh, you guys.
That's what he told me.
It turns out later, Dr. Marrow does say that the reason why he told Luke this information was because he scored so low on the reliability scale. So he knew that he would tell the girls, and that suggested something creepier was going on, that
he was hiding it.
Yeah, that he was hiding. So Theo flirts with Nell for a little bit, and she recognizes Nell's deep loneliness. It's something that some extroverts have a really good keen nose for. She realizes, she says, you've been out of the world a long time, haven't you? Remember that when she's brushing her hair? And it seems like Nell's like, dude, this chick is so hot, what do I do? The carving of the kids on the mantle, they turn, but Nell does not see that. Yeah, and that I mean, Mike Flanagan uses that a lot in Hill House. You can watch the statues turn direction; their faces will turn direction throughout it. Me and Phin went and looked lots for
and there were ghosts hidden.
So So in the series, in the TV series, Shirley and Theo have a moment in the TV series where they, I think it's Shirley that hears a knocking, and Theo comes running to her room. There's like pounding all over their walls, but one of the sisters comes running into the room. And just like in the TV show, there starts this big pounding, and Theo and Nell share a bathroom, so there's a walkway their rooms are connected by this bathroom, and Theo starts screaming for Nell. She starts screaming for Nell. So Nell is the caretaker. So she goes running into Theo's room, and there's like all this pounding and knocking, and they're totally freaked out. And the doors start to turn from Nell's room, and Nell goes booking it over there, and she locks it. And there's a big pound on it, like somebody was trying to get in, and she's freaked out that there's something in her room. So Luke shows up, and it all stops, and he said he heard Theo calling him, and she's like,
bruh.
No. So he feels screwed in the room selection because he's looking around, and he's like, holy crap, I got totally a tiny room.
Got like, he said like, this is like 4 times as big as my room.
So they all go down to the kitchen for some tea, and Luke turns on the water pipes to show them that what they heard was probably the water pipes. And I hate it. I hate it. It's such a freaking haunted house trope. Every haunted house trope, they're like, it's just the pipes. Like bad plumbing.
Yeah, totally like the
house.
door like the plumbing did the door handles and.
Right. See, you get it. So.
I'm also a fan. I watch a whole bunch of horror movies.
So they go back to bed, and Nell is in bed, and there's like these like weird, like, can you describe the ghosties that are like swimming under the sheets?
Yeah. They're like part of the sheets, like it comes up, and you can
like
see them swimming.
Like there's air under the sheets almost. Like
there's something under it, and it looks like they're just like gliding through.
Yeah, it's like these weird little ghosties in her sheets. Luke closes later on. She's in the library, and she's trying to do her tests, and her and Luke talk, and then Luke shuts the hell door on his way out to give her some privacy.
Didn't she already close it once?
She closed it once too. Yeah, Nell and Luke both have closed the hell door at this point. She sees a monster in the fireplace, and she goes running to tell everybody, and they all come to inspect the fireplace, and they find an ash bin, which is like it's an ash bin. I don't know how to describe it. It's
like 2 latches, like 2 doors.
It's like where they sweep all the ashes after they're done using it. And this huge lion head flue comes swinging down, and it almost hits them, in their heads. And Luke is like, "What the hell?" He like freaks out.
Yeah,
I know. So she says that wasn't what she saw. That was not the monster that she saw. And
liar.
It totally was because it looked like it.
Yeah,
but
I totally saw it.
And then they go into the foyer, and there's the big stairs that go up, and there's the big portrait of Hugh Crane, and somebody has written,
"Welcome home now,
Eleanor." Yes, and what is that called? Like, what did Mike Flanagan use for that? Come home now.
Or welcome home.
Well,
now.
yeah, because when you
both,
it was both, because it said come home now, and then when you pull the rest of the paper away, it says welcome home now. So, Mike, I see you. So it's written in red paint, and
God, Haunted Hill House was so good.
I know. They all blame each other, and Nell says whoever did this was cruel. She was just absolutely cruel, and she's very upset.
And
so
then Theo's like, maybe you did because you want attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Mara always calls her Eleanor. I find that very
interesting.
There's a spiral staircase. He takes her to the greenhouse, and he wants to show her the spiral staircase. So there's a spiral staircase just like in the greenhouse, or just like in the study in Connie Hill House.
Yeah, that worked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I remember the floating guy who never touched the floor. I remember they were going back to the house, and it was what's his face and the dad.
Mm-hmm. Nell tells the doctor that she loves this adventure. She loves this house, and she feels,
yes, it's so fun.
She loves the children of the house, and somebody scrubbed the paint off the Hugh Crane painting, and it's starting to look like a skeleton. But the spiral staircase is very reminiscent of Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House, because Nell. I don't want to ruin Haunting of Hill House because there's a really good reveal. I'm not going to say anything.
After October, do you want to review?
Maybe. So someone enters Nell's room unseen.
It's 6 skulls.
Yes, it is.
It is. Like seriously, that would be 6 skulls.
It is the 6 skull show. So someone, later on that night when Nell's asleep, someone enters Nell's room unseen, and she turns the lights on and sees tiny little bloody footprints.
No.
And they seem
follows them.
And they seem to urge her to follow us, Eleanor, follow us. So they lead to a hidden door in the bookcase. Ooh, everybody loves a hidden door in a bookcase.
I love this house. I do have like my freaking Indiana Jones hat.
And there's a stairway that spirals down into Hugh Crane's library, his study. And she realizes that this is Hugh Crane's study, and she finds his employment records, and there's so many children that are dead. So many of his children that worked in his
factory
mills died. And
factory?
Sort of a factory, yeah.
Sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. So Nell goes running up to Theo to show her the book because, oh my God. And Theo's like, I want to go to sleep. And she's like, and you need to sleep. So Nell takes the book to the children's carvings, and she said, okay, I'm listening. And they play with her hair while she combs it, and they kind of roll it up into this like weird little roll, like this, Gibson girl type of bun.
I was gonna say like cinnamon buns, like
it wasn't. It's called a Gibson girl.
Oh, I was gonna say like Princess Leia cinnamon buns.
It's very Victorian looking how they style her hair, and she realizes that there's a portrait of a woman in the room that looks like her with her hair styled like that, and she realizes that Hugh Crane had a second wife that nobody's talked about, and Nell hears she goes looking for Dr. Marrow, and she can't find him, but she finds his little recorder, and she hears his assessment of her, and it's not good. He thinks that she's an emotional wreck. Luke and Theo think it's a psychiatric bait and switch. He thinks that they're being told that it's a sleep study, but it's not. Nell sees Crane's wife, the second one, Caroline, and she finds a photo album and learns all about Caroline, and I noticed, like the first time I even saw it, that she's wearing the same necklace as Nell.
Yeah, she knows like right away.
Nell,
have you seen this movie?
yes, I have. So Nell,
you already noticed.
but I saw it when I was in the theater. Nell, so the pictures of Caroline points to the fireplace. So Nell goes digging through the ash bin, and she finds a skeleton in the ash bin. And Nell is, and it's a small skeleton. So she is determined to save the children.
No, but then the skeleton sits up and it's spooky.
It's a jump scare that was worthless. There's a door keeping her out, just like the red room in the other story.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's one locked room.
Yeah, she tells the rest of them, but she's kind of in shock. So they put her to bed, and Dr. Marrow finally comes clean that this is not a sleep study. This is a
fear study.
Yes.
You have to keep pointing. I know what I'm saying. I pause for a second.
Okay.
Am I allowed to pause?
And he says that all of the stuff that he's been feeding them, like not food, but all the information he's been feeding them is fake.
Or is it?
And Nell's like, it's not fake. So Theo and Dr. Marrow fight about Nell. And Dr. Marrow goes to check the ash bin, but he can't get it open. And then Theo goes to check on Nell, and then she goes to go get her some tea. And the temperature drops in Nell's room again, just like it did before the big pounding started. And the children, the carving on her bed, they look terrified for Nell. She's like they're like totally freaked out for her. And Nell starts running around, and she sees herself in the mirrors, and she looks like Caroline. And then she runs into the carousel room, which is completely covered in mirrors, and she sees herself as Caroline getting pregnant. Yeah, very pregnant. And the kids warn her that only the doors can hold him.
And we're like,
yeah, we knew which doors. Dr. Marrow, Theo, and Luke find Nell on the catwalk in the greenhouse. Very reminiscent of Olivia and Nell in the other movie, in the other show.
We forgot to mention your dead makeup.
I don't have dead makeup. It's just blue lipstick. That's all.
You look dead. It looks like you put on like pale
I
stuff.
didn't put anything pale on. This is just how pale I am.
You look dead. You have pale and blue lips and dark hair. You are dead.
It's just my lips. So, anyways.
You're also very pale.
So there's this. So Liam Neeson
I'm the worst.
is afraid of heights, and this scene he has to go running up the spiral staircase, and it starts falling apart. And he looks absolutely terrified because he was absolutely terrified.
He almost quit.
Yeah, he almost didn't take the job because of this scene. So Nell says that she's going to kill herself so she can be with the children. That's the only way she can save them. And she has to save Marrow from falling because he's going to fall. So she saves him. And then Theo and Luke want to get Nell out of there. But she's like, no, I'm staying in the house. This is my house. I'm staying. So a giant statue nearly drowns Marrow. And maybe he's like, whoa, this shit might be real. Nell is in bed having a rough time because she can't sleep. And she's kind of muttering to herself. And she's having a psychiatric break. And then her bed tries to eat her.
No.
I don't know how else to explain it. And then the whole house seems to want to eat her. There's a lot of going on in the house. And there's like stuff throwing and like there's like eyes and mouths and stuff like that look in the woodwork. And it's crazy, right? It's crazy. Her whole room just like gets trashed. And then Theo and Luke and Dr. Marrow try to get her out. And they get her out of her bed and they all beat feet. They're going to leave. And Nell asks why did Dr. Marrow call her to tell her about this study, and he goes,
How did you choose her? How did you know?
Yeah, how did you know? And what does he say?
He didn't call her.
He didn't call her. So Luke gets into the gremlin, Nell's car, and he crashes it into the gate, and the gate gets trapped in the car because a big piece of the gate falls down onto the car. And Nell turns and looks back, and all of the lights come on in the house, just like in Hill House. Haunting Hill House. She goes back to the house, and they go back into the house, and there's a recreation of Nell's mother's room right in the house. Looks just exactly like the room she's been trapped in for 11 years. And she says that Carolyn had a baby and ran away, and that baby was Nell's great-great-grandmother. So Nell says she's staying, but she'll help them get out because they deserve, to be safe. So Dr. Marrow, the doors start to close on all of them so they can't escape. And Nell says, he won't let you go. And then Dr. Marrow and Luke smash the doors with chairs, and the chairs stick. So they're trying to get out, and the doors, the windows are being, like the chairs are getting sucked into the windows, and they can't get out that way. Luke starts tearing a portrait of Hugh Crane up, and he says they'll burn the house down, and then he's dragged into the fireplace.
I'm like, this is a good. I'm like,
and Luke is
angry,
decapitated by the lion flu. And Luke and Nell were the only two that
he hated it.
Yeah, the ash bin explodes with all the kids' bones all over the room, and Nell says that they'll have to go and play hide and seek. And Dr. Marrow's like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And Nell protects them from the statues trying to kill Marrow and Theo. And then Nell finally recognizes her necklace, finally, in Carolyn's portrait. Nell calls Crane out, and she goes to the hell door, and then he goes, "Eleanor!" And she sees him finally. She's a little hyper-fixated on these kids she's never met. It's kind of weird.
You're trying to save like hundreds of kids trapped with this abusive person?
But I just want to like hug her and be like, you know what, Nell, you don't have to take care of everybody. God. She's so codependent. So anyways, the demons from the door drag him in, and she gets caught in the crossfire. And Crane becomes part of the door, and the children thank her as she dies, and her spirit leaves with the children, and Theo and Marrow get out safely. The end.
Boom.
The only two people that died were the two people that closed the hell gate, the hell door. And that was Nell and Luke. I really, really, really liked this movie, and like, I hate how badly it got. It was like so badly received that Steven Spielberg, who worked on this movie, asked for his name to be removed from this movie. Rude. And the movie cost so much money to make. They lost so much money on this movie, but I give it 4 skulls. So they made one person happy and 2 people happy.
4.5.
See, there you go. So tomorrow we were going to be watching Trick or Treat. We're also going to try and dress as at least one character each from one of the movies that we have reviewed.
I'm not telling you which.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you which, and we're going to watch Trick or Treat tonight and get back to you tomorrow. We want you guys to have a safe Devil's Night. Don't go out burning shit down.
Wait, how about we don't tell them next episode what we are? They have to comment below.
Right. It's not going to work that well.
Challenge.
We won't say anything until the end. How about that?
Yeah, the very end. You
We'll
guys
say.
gotta comment below what you think we are.
We are. But, so anyways, it won't work that way either. So anyways, go vote because it is almost here. Tuesday, people. I am amped. I'm stressed.
Tuesday.
Go vote.
Go vote.
Blue wave, everybody. Let's go.
Wait. Cover my face. I have nice makeup.
So go vote, like
and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.